Attar is my guide, Attar is my guide. By the grace of Allah, Attar is my guide. My murshid has changed millions of lives. The prophetic sunnah, he is revived. The leader of the Sunnis, he is our pride. By the grace of Allah, Attar is my guide.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Noorallah. Dear Islamic brothers, dear viewers and listeners of Madani channel, welcome back to another episode of the beautiful silsila Discourses of Attar. Continuing from our last episode, inshallah ta'ala, we will listen to some beautiful Madani pearls of advice given by our Shaykh al-Tariqat Amir Ahl-Sunnat, Hazrat Allama Maulana Abu Bilal Muhammad Ilyas Attar Qadri Razvi Ziyai, Damat Barakatumul Aliyah, that he gave to a displeased Islamic brother. And indeed, this is advice for all of us. At the outset of the silsila, please make as many good intentions as possible to gain maximum rewards. That I will listen to this dars, this bayan, for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. I will try to implement whatever I listen to. I will try to practice upon these and teach them and encourage them to my children, to my household, my friends, my family, wherever I can. The more good intentions you make, the more reward there is, inshallah ta'ala. Indeed, there are many countless benefits in reciting durood, salawat and salutations upon the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. It is reported in a summary of hadith, our beloved master, the peace of our heart and mind, the most generous and kind, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, has stated, that person who forgot to recite durood and salat upon me has forgotten the way to Jannah. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Therefore, do not forget, continue reciting salawat in abundance. We will see these benefits, inshallah ta'ala, in this dunya, the qabr and akhirah, inshallah ta'ala. Baba Jan has advised that what is the definition of self-satisfaction and how harmful this is for us. The definition is that to associate one's possession or one's ability, like if a person has knowledge, if a person has wealth, he associates these with his own personal achievement, and there is no feeling of fear of it being lost. That is, the self-satisfied person forgets to associate that favor with the real bestower, which is Allah Azza wa Jal. Sayyidina Imam Abu Hamid Muhammad bin Muhammad Ghazali alayhi rahmatullahi al-wali has stated, there are two categories of people who consider their knowledge, their good deeds and their wealth to be their personal achievements. The first category here is a person who fears that his bounty, his favor may be changed or lost. Such a person is not a self-satisfied person. Under the next category, the second category, is a person who does not fear the loss of his favor, but is happy and satisfied with the fact that it is Allah Azza wa Jal who has granted him this favor, and he has not achieved it merely through his own personal efforts. Such a person is also not a self-satisfied person. In addition to these two categories, there is another category, but this leads to self-satisfaction. This category includes that person who does not fear the loss of his bounty, of his favor, or any reduction, any loss or reduction in it, but rather he is delighted to have attained this bounty, considering it a great honor for him. The reason why this self-satisfied person gets delighted is that he considers this favor to be his own personal achievement, not a divine bestowal from Allah Azza wa Jal. A person at times performs good deeds but does not get any benefit, unable to resist the attacks of Satan, the whisperings of Shaitan, Satan the cursed one. Such a person brags about his deeds, saying such sentences like, I perform many good deeds, I do much religious work, I have done this, I have done that, etc. This person forgets that it is Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal who has enabled him to perform these deeds. These kind of people who show off, they should have fear, because Allah Azza wa Jal has stated in the glorious Quran, Surah Al-Kahf, verse 104, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. Translation from Kanzul Iman. And they are under the impression that they are doing good deeds. Commenting on this verse, the renowned commentator of the Hadith and the Quran, Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan Naimi, Rahmatullah Ta'ala alayhi, he has stated, this shows that the person who performs good deeds, bearing hardships, but is not benefited by his deeds, is more unfortunate than even a sinner. He remains under the impression that he is a righteous person, and we seek refuge of Allah Azza wa Jal from this state. To brag and to show off about one's deeds, and as it is stated, to blow one's trumpet, is a very bad habit. Allah Azza wa Jal has clearly stated in the glorious Quran, Surah An-Najm, verse 32. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. هو أعلم بكم إذ أنشأكم من الأرض وإذ أنتم أجنة في بطون أمهاتكم فلا تزكوا أنفسكم هو أعلم بمن اتقى. Translation from Kanzul Iman. He knows you very well, since He has created you from earth, and when you were fetuses in your mother's wombs. Therefore, do not on your own claim yourselves to be clean. He well knows who are the pious. Commenting on this verse, the renowned commentator of the blessed Ahadith and the glorious Quran, Hakimul Ummah, Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan Naimi, alayhi rahmatullahi al-qawi, has stated, this verse was revealed about the people who were proud of their good deeds and would brag, would show off regarding their salahs, their fasts and other acts of worship. The mere fact that Allah Azza wa Jal knows everything is sufficient. Why should a person boast about his piety, his taqwa and his purity, his cleanliness? The pleasant thing is when the servant says, I am a sinner. But Allah Azza wa Jal says, He is pious. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu had this great rank. Subhanallah. Also, commenting on this above mentioned verse, Hujjatul Islam, Sayyidina Imam Abu Hamid Muhammad bin Ghazali, alayhi rahmatullahi al-wali, has stated, Sayyidina Ibn Jurayj radiyallahu ta'ala anhu has said, after performing a good deed, one should not say, I have performed this deed. Al-Mu'mineen, our beloved mother, Sayyidatuna Aisha Siddiqah radiyallahu ta'ala anha, once was asked, when does a person become a sinner? She radiyallahu ta'ala anha replied, a person becomes a sinner when he considers himself to be righteous. The famous Tabi'i saint, Sayyidina Zayd bin Aslam, alayhi rahmatullahi al-akram, has stated, do not say that you are a righteous person because this is self-satisfaction. Sayyidina Mutarrif rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi has mentioned, for me to sleep the whole night, the entire night, and then to regret in the morning, to have missed the worship of the night, is better than to perform worship the whole night and then indulge in self-satisfaction in the morning. That is, to consider myself to be a pious person. Sayyidina Bishr bin Mansur, alayhi rahmatullahi al-Ghafoor, was a great abid, a great worshipper. He was so pious that if a person saw him, the person would be inspired to remember Allah Azza wa Jal and the Akhirah, the afterlife. This is how pious he was. One day, Sayyidina Bishr bin Mansur, alayhi rahmatullahi al-Ghafoor, offered his salah. A person was standing behind him and observing him. After Sayyidina Bishr bin Mansur, alayhi rahmatullahi al-Ghafoor, performed salam, finishing his salah, he noticed this person. Overcome with divine fear, he humbly said, trying to refrain from self-satisfaction, "You should not be amazed to see me offer salah, because Satan, Shaitan, had also worshipped Allah Azza wa Jal with the angels for a long period of time. But how he was doomed is evident and obvious to everyone." Hujjatul Islam, Sayyidina Imam Abu Hamid, Muhammad bin Muhammad Ghazali, alayhi rahmatullahi al-Wali, has stated, the ability to perform good deeds is one of the favors and bestowments of Allah Azza wa Jal, but it is self-satisfaction that leads an unwise person to praising himself and boasting about his piety. When he brags and he shows off about his own opinions or deeds and wisdom, he remains deprived of gaining benefits, consulting others and asking them for help. Thus he becomes a self-confident person. That is, he considers himself to be a wise person and avoids consulting with others. Imam Ghazali, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, in Ihya al-Ulum has further stated, the worshippers, the scholars, the beautiful ones, and the wealthy have all no right to brag about their ibadat, their worships, their knowledge, their beauty and wealth respectively, because all these are the bounties of Allah Azza wa Jal. In other words, intelligence or medical expertise, a pleasant voice, good oratory skills, etc. have all been given by Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. Nothing should be credited to one's own personal achievement. Whatever a person has and how much he has is actually a bestowal of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. This is how we must make our minds, dear viewers of Madani channel. Further, Hujjatul Islam, Sayyidina Imam Abu Hamid, Muhammad bin Muhammad Ghazali, alayhi rahmatullahi al-Wali, has stated, despite being extremely pious and ascetic, truthful and sincere, the blessed companions, the Sahaba Kiram, alayhimur Ridwan, when overcome by divine fear, would express the wish, if only they had been dust, splinters, or if only they had been birds, so that they would not have the fear of a bad end, and adhab and punishment in the qabr, in the grave and in the afterlife. If this was the fear of the blessed companions, the Sahaba Kiram, radiyallahu ta'ala anhum, then how can a wise person brag about or be proud of his own deeds and be fearless as regards to his nafs? It is therefore a cure for self-satisfaction to keep the humility and divine fear of the blessed companions in mind. We should imitate them. This removes and eradicates the root causes of self-satisfaction. When the person who keeps the divine fear of the blessed companions in his mind is overwhelmed by this feeling, that is, the way the blessed companions alayhimur Ridwan would have fear of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, then the fear of the loss of His favor makes him refrain from self-importance. Furthermore, when he observes that the unbelievers and the transgressors were deprived of Iman, were deprived of faith and obedience respectively without them making any mistake, he fears for himself, realizing the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal is Samad, carefully, who can deprive anyone of anything, even if the deprived person had not committed any offense, and can bestow anything to anyone even without any means. All this depends upon the will of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. To Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, He who is Samad can even take back the favor that He Azza wa Jal has given to a person. Allah Azza wa Jal forbid many Muslims become murtad. May Allah Azza wa Jal save us from this. Murtad means those who have corrupted beliefs. And many pious and obedient people, they become transgressors, ending up with a bad end, a bad death. These thoughts, they put an end to self-satisfaction. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa Shaykh al-Tariqat Amir Ahl-Sunnat Amr Barakatuhum al-Aliyah. He advises further, this particular Islamic brother who wrote that email and was displeased, but this is also advice for all of us. He says, "Dear Madani son, remember, it is also a dangerous and disastrous attack of Satan that he causes a person to have the wishful thinking that he is a virtuous person. The person thinks like this, and he has made a lot of religious services. Fighting this attack of Satan, develop the mindset that I have so far done no religious work, nor have I performed any good deeds. Develop this mindset. Further, I am nothing and I am the worst person. This is how we should think, dear viewers of Madani channel. Furthermore, if you have the opportunity to perform a good deed, which is a divinely bestowed ability, you should endeavor to adorn it with the ornament of sincerity, of ikhlas. May Allah Azza wa Jal make you His sincere servant by the wasila, for the sake of the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and make me His sincere servant for your sake. The Prophet of Mercy sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam has stated, one who performs good deeds merely for Allah Azza wa Jal for 40 days, Allah Azza wa Jal makes the springs of wisdom appear on his tongue from his heart. Subhanallah. There are a few definitions of ikhlas, of sincerity. Let us listen carefully, inshallah ta'ala. Sincerity, it is to perform the good deed only for the pleasure of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. It should not be aimed at fulfilling the desire of the nafs or earning the pleasure of the people. Furthermore, Allama Abdul Ghani Nabulusi Hanafi alayhi rahmatullahi al-qawi has stated, sincerity is to perform the deed with the mere intention of gaining the closeness of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal without aiming for any worldly benefit. Sayyidina Hudhayfa Mar'ashi alayhi rahmatullahi al-qawi has stated, ikhlas, sincerity, is to perform the deed in the same manner, whether performed in public or in private. Sayyidina Muhasibi alayhi rahmatullahi al-qawi has mentioned, sincerity is to prevent the creation from being involved in the matter related to the Creator Azza wa Jal. Sayyidina Sahal bin Abdullah Tustari alayhi rahmatullahi al-qawi has mentioned, sincerity is to perform every act solely for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal without any involvement of one's nafs, desire or worldly benefit in it. Sincerity is the essence of ibadah, of worship. Sadr Sharia, Badr Tariqa, Allama Maulana Mufti Muhammad Amjad Ali A'zami alayhi rahmatullahi al-qawi has mentioned, it is vital to perform the deed, the good deed, with sincerity, with the intention of earning the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. it is unanimously prohibited, haram, to perform the deed, ostentation or showing off, called riya in Arabic, is even referred to as a minor shirk, minor polytheism in a hadith. It is sincerity that brings about the thawab, the reward. It is also possible that the deed becomes invalid, but its reward may still be given provided the deed is performed with sincerity. For example, if a person has unknowingly made wudu with unclean water and has offered salah, though the salah will not be valid because one of the preconditions of salah is cleanliness, tahara, for the validity of the salah, and this was not met here, still he will be given reward because he had offered salah with a truthful intention and with sincerity. However, if he became aware later that he had made wudu with unclean, impure water and his salah was not valid, he will be required to repeat this salah. May Allah Azza wa Jal grant us the true understanding of His beautiful deen and make us aware of our own faults, our own shortcomings, and to remove these diseases of self-satisfaction, of showing off, and these kind of spiritual diseases which actually hinder our spiritual progress. May Allah Azza wa Jal grant us the ability to act upon the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and always be obedient to Him Azza wa Jal and Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Ameen bijahin nabiyyil ameen sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Sallu ala al-habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Attar is my guide, Attar is my guide. By the grace of Allah, Attar is my guide. My murshid has changed millions of lives. The prophetic sunnah he has revived. The leader of the Sunnis, he is our pride. By the grace of Allah, Attar is my guide.